The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, O Lord.
The shepherds went in haste to Bethlehem and found Mary and Joseph and the infant lying in the manger. When they saw this, they made known the message that had been told them about this child. All who heard this were amazed by what had been told them by the shepherds. And Mary kept all these things, reflecting on them in her heart. Then the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen, just as it had been told to them. When 8 days were completed for his circumcision, he was named Jesus, the name given him by the angel before he was conceived in the womb. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Was the head coach of that other team in that other place about 100 miles west of here. He used to tell his young guys when the first time they ever went on the field during a game, and it's pretty overpowering actually, he said, you know, if you think you're going to faint, it's not exactly what he said, but if you think you're going to faint on the field, get off the field before you do. And then we'll send you back in on the next play, you know. And so, and another thing that I recall when I was a young man, and I played football just in high school, but we used to have a saying that it's not how you get knocked down, it's how you get back up that counts. Which is a good thing, because if you play football, you get knocked down quite a bit. I want to say to the music department today, absolutely wonderful. I can see the work that you guys are doing. If there's anybody in this room that thinks the first time I ever saw Memorial Stadium or Kyle Field, I said, that's the place for me. And if anybody in here feels that way towards the music that you're hearing, because I can tell you, that's as good as it gets. It gets that good and it gets more of it, but it doesn't get any better than that. Then please come and join our music program, because I can see the harmonies that they're singing over there right now. Everything is beautiful. And our cantor, you have an absolutely wonderful voice. And so continue because you absolutely do have a gift. So continue with that. Now, you'll probably never get paid. I never said anything about making money, did I? At some point I'm going to make you guys laugh. You may not want to laugh after you hear all of this. We can define our existence in terms of what is eternal. Let me try just to say the sentence correctly. We can define our existence in terms of what is external, which is actually what we pretty much do. We define our existence in terms of what is external. The world, as an example, is external. We know the world through our 5 senses. But the world is so vast and ancient. And even on top of that, this planet, this big rock we live on, is only one of many planets in our solar system. And we're only one of many solar systems in our galaxy. And we're only one of many galaxies in our universe. And Even with all, if you think about all the scientific advancements of humanity over the last 500 years, we still don't know very, very basic things about the universe, like where are its boundaries? And what is this dark matter, which actually makes up more than matter? We as human we as human persons feel the power of the world of creation, of the physical world, and we huddle, as our ancestors did, in the dark cave of our smallness and finitude. Limited. We're limited. So we huddle in our dark cave of smallness and finitude as we listen to the vicious howls of the night, because we know we're food. And so, we strike a match. We fashion a tool that extends our five senses so that today we have cities that never sleep. We can travel across the continent in a single day, and we can leave the planet. What I have just described to you, the progression of humanity from fire in the darkness to leaving the planet, took thousands of years. But from our perspective, from my perspective, which began at the moment when I woke, to use a current word, it is only a small step for man, while ignoring the one giant leap for mankind. We have a ticket. I have a ticket. Therefore, we have the power. We have the freedom. I have the freedom. Therefore, we have the power. I have the power. This is the way we see things, is it not? Yes, it is. If we have the freedom to do it, if we can do it, we have the power to do it. And since the universe began when I first started becoming cognizant, because it's so big I can't understand it, therefore, that's what I'm interested in. And that's all I'm interested in. But the question is that real power? And then the next question is, what is power? Can we say that if we have the freedom to do something, then we have power over that thing? If we have the freedom to do it, do we have power over it? If we have a ticket, then do we own it? Caesar Augustus is a very important character in the narrative, the nativity narrative that we've been reading through that surrounds Christmas. To whom did Caesar Augustus answer? The Augustus had no rival in his world. Behold, Caesar Augustus proclaims a census throughout the entire world, his world, and Caesar Augustus has the freedom to make decrees in his royal palace at Rome that uproot the lives of human persons living in Nazareth and Bethlehem. Why? Because in Caesar Augustus resides all power. Is that true? The statement I just made, is it true? In Caesar Augustus resides all power? Of course not. But if you were alive at that time and lived in Nazareth and Bethlehem, it would seem to your senses that it was true. You would certainly be able to feel the swift kick of a Roman boot on your backside to get you moving. I quote Bishop Barron. Caesar is performing an act uniquely characteristic of an emperor. This census of Caesar Augustus is a personal pronouncement of his power. The Augustus is free to do this because he has the power to do this, because he has the legions, because he is the emperor. Again, from Bishop Barron says, I quote, the manipulative and overbearing quality of Caesar's census becomes clear in the Old Testament when David, remember King David, desires to take a census, is met with the sternness of divine disapproval. Whose world is it? That's the question. Whose world is it? Whose world is it? It's not Caesar's. For a moment, Caesar thought that it was, but he was incorrect. Caesar is gone, and the world is still here. Will the princes of this world ever subjugate their moment of power? Not without a fight. Even though evil howls in the darkness of our fear, goodness freely sings more powerfully through the true Prince of Peace, who faithfully comes, but not as his enemy expects. He comes hidden as a warrior into a land of rebellion and opposition. Caesar Augustus versus Jesus Christ. One thinks he owns the world and thinks that he is free. The other, though he was in the form of God, did not regard equality with God something to be grasped, but rather humbled himself to become obedient to death, even death on a cross. Should not so glorious a warrior enter through the hidden tabernacle who proclaims, "Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord. Be it done to me according to your word." The very place of his birth fulfills the ancient prophecy of Micah. We see that God is working over a long period of time where kings come up and fall away. The very place of his birth was fulfilled the very place of his birth fulfills the ancient prophecy of Micah. From you, O Bethlehem, will come forth for me one who is to be a ruler. He will ensure their peace. Where did Mary and Joseph live? In Nazareth? What were they doing in Bethlehem? Did they have relatives there or something? Was Joseph looking for a job or something? What were they doing in Bethlehem? They were being obedient to the lawful rulers of their world, most proximate being Quirinius, the satrap of Syria during the reign of Emperor Caesar Augustus. But Jesus cautions us against such false princes who sit as rulers. Be careful to do whatever they tell you, but do not follow their example, for they do not practice what they preach. In case you ever wondered where that saying comes from, that's where it comes from. It's Matthew chapter 23. They do not practice what they preach. Is it possible to be obedient to God, whom you cannot see, when you will not be obedient to lawful rulers, whom you can see? And so, Mary and Joseph were in Bethlehem because they were obedient. It was a great imposition and disturbance of their life, but they were there. And what happened when they were there is they fulfilled the prophecy of Micah, made 1,500 years before. The hidden warrior, the Son of God, the Son of Man, infiltrates behind enemy lines. While Caesar is great, Jesus is an infant. While Caesar projects his power onto the whole world, Jesus is wrapped in swaddling clothes and can do nothing but cry out because he can't even move in swaddling clothes. Listen for the voice of Caesar on the wind. You will not hear him. You will hear, rather, the song of the shepherds, glorifying and praising God for all they have heard and seen, just as it had been told to them. Would you search for power and freedom in the heart of the August One? If you do, then you are a fool, searching for gold where there is only dust. Listen to the small whispering sound in silence. Mary treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart. Finally, what evidence would you accept that what I tell you is the truth? As proof that you are sons, God sent the Spirit of His Son into our hearts, crying out, Abba, Father, so that you are no longer a slave but a son, and if a son, then also an heir through God. Now, let us stand and offer the Nicene Creed.